For today's review, let's take a look at the new Thrunite Archer Mini, a AAA sized light with a tail switch, a sealed 10400 lithium-ion battery, and integrated charging. And then thanks to Thrunite for sending this to me to take a look at with you and review. Here is the packaging, just a nice white cardboard box. Very little information on the outside here, but since they're sold online, that's not really important. And you really don't get much in terms of accessories here. You get the light itself, obviously, with the pocket clip pre-installed. You get a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, and you get a manual which is in several different languages, including English. This is a simple flashlight in terms of design. It looks like the head or the tail might unscrew, but in fact they are glued together here, so that's one piece. And it is not user serviceable. The light is smooth, there's no knurling or really anything here for grip. It's type 3 hard anodizing, so it should wear well. The tail switch here does stand proud, and I believe it's an E-switch underneath here. It has a little bit of a click to it, but not like a electronic switch, or not like a mechanical switch would. Because this thing stands proud, you will want to use lockout mode, and I'll talk more about that later on in the review. The head of the light here unscrews, and it is a captured system. And that's because your USB-C port here is underneath. Opposite the USB-C port is a little LED here that goes red when charging and blue when charged. And this is a pretty simple system. It does come off. If you undo this ring, you'll get at the inner bits, and you can take the head off if you needed to clean it for some reason or something like that. There is a TIR optic underneath there that you can see there, which acts as a reflector and makes for a pretty good beam for something this size. On the retention and carry front, this light uses a dual direction clip, as you can see here. It's pretty deep carry, which I typically like, and that dual direction clip allows you to slide onto a ball cap. This is pretty lightweight, so you could use it for that and it'd do a decent job. One thing I will note here is that button. It does stand proud, and in my testing using this light for about a week in my front left pocket, it came on frequently. So you'll want to make sure to use lockout mode. I'll tell you how to do that in the UI section here. Size and weight, I measured this light with a length of 83 millimeters, a diameter on the minimum at 14 millimeters, on the maximum at 17.2. Weight with the battery and clip came in at 35.9 grams, or just 1.26 ounces. The light is IPX8 water rated and drop rated to 1.5 meters. For some comparisons here, I did a Olight i3T. This is also a AAA light. And here is a Raylight Mini Pineapple in aluminum, also a AAA or 10440 light. You can see both are longer than the Thrunite Mini. And here's the AceBeam Rider RX. It's a AA sized light, but a pretty compact one, and I reviewed that recently, which is why I'm throwing it up there too. For the LED and beam, the Archer Mini is using the SST20 LED with a TIR optic, as you can see here. I measured the tint at 5,594 CCT on my Opal meter with an RA of 63. So surprisingly, this is on the cool side of neutral white, which is great to see, a non-cool white emitter. However, the LED does have a pretty good green tinge, especially on the lower outputs, and that's a known characteristic of the SST20 that I don't love. The beam shape is pleasant with that TIR optic, which I can kind of show here, and my night shots will show that too. And it's a good range, a good size beam for EDC style tasks in my opinion. There is very minimal PWM on low mode and basically none on high. And Thrunite claims this light's capable on high of 405 lumens. I measured at 30 seconds in my lumen tube at 354 lumens, so 87% of the claimed output. On low, they claim 18 lumens. I measured 20 lumens, so a little over 100% output. I think that's okay here. I don't think there's anything bad going on here. I'm not using professional grade equipment, so that's well within the margin of error. Okay, let's look at the Thrunite Archer Mini here. I've got it on in high mode. This is about 400 lumens, 350, 400. And it sounds like we're doing some drag racing tonight behind me. But we can see it's decent. It's nice for an EDC beam out in front of you. Doesn't really throw very far here. You can also see the beam is greenish. It's fairly close to neutral white, but it is definitely got that green tinge of an SST20 LED. The light also has a low mode here, about 20 lumens. Doesn't show up great on camera, but that's what you'd expect out of 20 lumens. And there is the full 450, and there's strobe. I did my runtime test with the internal 320 milliamp hour 10400 battery, and turbo stayed on near the rated number just shy of 3 minutes before stepping down to 150 lumens for about 50 minutes and then stepping down to 0 for a full runtime of 1 hour 7 minutes. Heat during this time peaked at 31°C, which is barely warm. I also did a comparison with high versus low, and as you would expect, low at 20 lumens lasted a considerable amount of time, 8 hours and 26 minutes to be exact, and it was a very consistent output. UI here is very simple but different from what I've seen on pretty much every other flashlight that I've tested. It's a 2-mode light, and from off, a single quick press turns it on to low, double press to go to high. And that seems simple, and it is. And just a single press to turn off. Once you're on high, to go to low, there is no way. You just have to turn it off and turn it back on again. And to go to strobe, you triple press. So very, very simple to use, but I find myself, when I'm using this light and I want to go to a higher mode, I'm wanting to press it again to go up in mode, which is what you do on a lot of other flashlights. But what this actually does is puts it in lockout mode, and in lockout mode, it runs the low output in momentary. So while this is easy to use and easy to undo, you just press and hold again. It's just not how I'm used to using the light, and I don't know, I just can't get my brain around it. It's simple, but I struggle with it just because I touch a lot of other lights here. I don't think most people will have an issue with that, especially if you're carrying this one for a majority of the time, you won't have an issue. So on recharging, the Archer Mini has the onboard USB-C, which is available right after you unscrew the head of the light a little bit, and it is a captured head. Once you're plugged in there, opposite is a LED. It goes red when charging, green when charged. Very simple to use. No problem with C-to-C cables as well as A-to-C cables. Recharging that internally sealed 320 milliamp hour 10400 battery from when the light shuts off to full took 1 hour 6 minutes with a maximum charge rate of 0.32 amps, so right at 1C charging speed, which is perfect. And like I said, the light will operate while charging. My final thoughts are, it's good to see something different from just your traditional AAA style light. I like that Thrunite's chosen to conceal the USB-C charging port here, as it's more secure than your traditional silicone cover that's commonly seen. That said, it's a sealed design, so you can't replace that internal battery or use alkaline or nickel metal hydrides in a pinch, which is a nice thing to have on a light this size, I think. The LED here is just slightly cool white, but with a pretty strong green tinge, so it's kind of hit and miss. The beam pattern with that TIR is good, and I find the user interface here to be a little bit frustrating, but that's just because it's different than 99% of other flashlights I own and test. It's a good UI, just different. My frustration has gone down the more I use it, and I don't think other people will have that issue, and I think it's pretty well thought out, but for me, I still struggle with it. It's a pretty affordable flashlight, and if I have any sales or discounts, they'll be in the description below, and Thrunite likes to run a lot of coupons on the Amazon listing page, so make sure to check that out too. I think it's a pretty good value for what it brings, but this isn't going to be the light I reach for when I want a AAA sized light, just because the UI and that LED. That's not to say it's a bad light, it's just not something that's currently going to displace others that I have in my pocket with a more traditional UI or a LED that I prefer personally. So let me know what you think of Thrunite Archer Mini. If you've got one, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that UI. And for the rest of you guys, I'd appreciate you liking, subscribing, leaving comments, and I'll catch you on the next review soon. Thanks for watching.